you involved in getting a Bayern Munich, maybe your second team to Siliguri? I think 2008 or 2009.
Yeah, yeah,
Were you there?
yeah.
Okay, I had gone to see there. I was from my school. Like they had taken us.
Oh, nice.
So I
Great.
wanted to. Yeah, I think was George Muller there, like as the coach? I don't know.
Gerd Müller was there,
Yeah,
but you also had Thomas Müller as
yeah,
well
yeah,
as
yeah.
Holger Badstuber on the field. Yeah, unknown players.
Yeah. Back then it was unknown. I mean, you knew Gerd Muller because everyone knew him, but you didn't probably know Thomas Muller, or you didn't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, like when you look back, like I didn't believe that Thomas Muller was there because now he's a known quantity. But now I confirmed it to
of course.
you. He was there. Yeah.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
So hello, a very warm welcome to the VAR Show, the show which talks about various major football leagues. Until today, we are going to conduct interviews, and we have one of the most famous Indian football media experts and former CEO of Mumbai City FC, Mr. Arunava Chaudhuri, with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Arunava for coming and joining us on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and how has this period been for you? Have you been, like more productive because kind of you have more time, probably the traveling has been cut down, or has it been more like monotonous for you in like kind of like staying inside and not probably meeting much people compared to before?
First of all, thank you, Shubhashish, for having me on your show. Great pleasure to be with you. For me, it's been a very weird 2020 because if I look back at 2019, I was traveling 251 days somewhere in the world, a lot to India, but also to other parts of the world. And suddenly that travel has ended. I'm in my hometown here in Germany, a small city called Remscheid, where physically I'm actually doing more than I used to. I'm doing a lot of indoor training for myself. I'm helping a friend with his restaurant and which has a social angle to it. So I've been busy with that and following football around the world. And the good thing is that the Indian Super League this year is available on an official live stream here in Europe. So I'm watching nearly every afternoon, 3 o'clock German time, a match of the ISL.
Definitely. So like I'll begin like maybe go. It might be the question might go back a few years back. How did football begin with for you? Like what was it? How did you get into it? And what was the first thing that attracted you towards it?
If you're born and brought up in Germany, I think football is part of your life. We used to play football as kids and then you start following football. My hometown team used to play in those days in the second Bundesliga. So, it's a very normal thing. And then at the age of 10, I went to Kolkata, spent 5 years in Kolkata, where then my love and interest for Indian football grew and where it came from. And it was a pleasure of seeing that. And I came back, I media more and more involved in the game. It's become less media, it's become more of management, consulting and strategizing. And that way it's been for me that the sport that I loved and which was more of a hobby became my job.
Definitely. And you also started a website back, I think 1998. How did that happen? Like what made you like, or why did you start it? Like something would have clicked. Back then website was not a common thing, I would say. Like that is also just like how did that happen?
So in the year 1998, a friend of mine was doing HTML coding and he was designing websites, this and that. And I thought, oh, let's learn the basics. And then I did a website about myself, about my city, about my family. And it was very static, nothing special. And then I realized that I was following Indian football news through the sources. In those days, there was no Google, there was no Facebook, there was no WhatsApp, Instagram. There was nothing actually. So Facebook, not Facebook, sorry, Yahoo used to be the biggest search engine in those days. And I was following 3 Indian newspapers, had a website, and I was following it. And then one day I thought, hey, why don't I create a website on football in India? And I created what became indianfootball.com. I got reactions from day 2, day 3 from people who were encouraging me and saying, hey, keep it up, do it, please keep us informed on Indian football. And that is how I really fully got involved with football in India.
And definitely, like you said, like even now, okay, now it's kind of easier with ISL. It's more information is more readily available. But back, not even back, like if you go back like 5, 6, 7 years, even maybe first season of ISL, information was very hard to get by. Even I League for today, I think you'll be difficult even, like you would have to search to even get the fixtures. Like maybe it's not readily available. Like if you type like Premier League, the amount of details that you get probably. So how did you get about, because even if you're following like newspapers like you said, I mean football would cover, I don't think so a lot. It would be just a tiny part. And then like what were you doing to maybe like keep it going, because it can be like you can lose interest with time maybe, because probably you are getting the recognition like you said from day 2, day 3, but probably it's a untested water, because back then again like we discussed, like website was a very new thing. Like what kept you going?
So what happened then was you were focusing on the basics. So the basics in those stages was actually just to give the result. In an ideal case scenario, you were able to give a result with the goal scorers. And I was lucky that legends of Indian sports journalism like Novi Kapadia, others like Sunil Warrior, Rajiv Kolasari from Bangalore, from these cities were willing to pass on the information, send me emails with the basic data, or take a photo and then email me the lineups, so we could publish that. And then Novi helped me a lot with looking back at the old data. He was publishing the annual Durand Cup journal, and via that we started creating a database. In 1999, Baichung Bhutia went to England, so I had closer access to Baichung in England than people in India. So that helped as well. India came to England in 2000 on a historic tour to play Fulham, West Brom, and Bangladesh. So there's a lot of things that happened around those days which enabled, and I was lucky that about a year down the road, I found two other guys also based here in Germany. So this is, I think, the main story, that not sitting in an Indian city but sitting 7,000 kilometers away in Germany, IndianFootball.com was created, and I found two fellow guys who were willing to work with me on this. This was one, Chris Ponakatu and Chris Ponakatu Daniel and Daniel Ponatu, who also were living close by here in Germany, and we kept it, and then other people joined in, and it grew by itself, and grew, and it was sort of the serious information source on Indian football for many years.
Definitely, like you mentioned, Novi Kapadia, he has been there. I've read his book, like Barefoot to Boots, and it's amazing, like the amount of, like he seems like he has been there for quite a while, like I mean, like he's been there for quite a while. So like seeing the thing, like you said, like you're moving to like kind of management and other stuff now compared to previously. Like what made you take that jump, or what was the turning point for you to jump there?
See, for me, I've never jumped from one thing to another. A lot of things simply happened. IndianFootball.com was not something which I strategized with, I planned. Those were different days. Then in 2004, the Bundesliga approached me and said, "Listen, we're looking at India. We want to do stuff in India. Can you help us in devising a plan for India?" So that was sort of another entry point where Chris and I worked on that. Then 2005, Bayern Munich sent their second team to India to play in the IFA Shield in Kolkata. I became part of the squad, and we were just discussing of what we could do, what we should do with India. So it just happened that here in Germany there was suddenly an interest for football in India. I've also worked before that for and with the AFF on organizing trips and tours and working on their England tours, or here in Germany, the under-17s had a training stint in 2002, which was the first ever training camp of an Indian football team abroad. So we did a lot of things. I was lucky that that it wasn't as developed and as organized as it is today. So I could do a lot of things, help in a lot of things in the progression of Indian football.
Definitely, like you have been there for quite a while now, like you said, like from when the website till now. And how has the football landscape changed in India? Like from when you started till the website and now till today. Like if you talk about today, what you just released a video about Northeast United training, I guess right now, and yeah, till
Yeah.
today. So how has it changed?
I think that the world in general has changed quite a lot. We are much more interconnected. In 1998, I wouldn't have thought that in the year 2020, I'll be watching Indian Super League matches on my television here via a live stream in Germany. So that is the first thing. The connectivity around the world has dramatically changed. In 1998, the National Football League, which was the league prior to the I League, was very very young. That was, it was created only in December 1996. So if you look at that from 96 to now, we are in the year 2020. There's been a very very long journey that Indian football has come, not only Indian football but global football. If you look at how football has developed, but also that Indian football with the with the I League coming in 2007, and then of course in 2014 with the Indian Super League coming in. Indian football has moved on quite a bit in those last two decades.
Definitely, and like you also with Mumbai City FC, I think the first year of the thing.
Yes.
So how was the experience there? Like like with Mumbai, it was like probably the first time, like a very big event related to football. Like you had I League, like you said in 2007, but that was like not that big compared to what ISL was when it was inauguration. So how was the atmosphere? Like, did you all think, okay, this might work, or was it something you all were nervous because you don't know what you will get because it's the first time it's done? Like probably if you start another tournament today, you kind of know, okay, it might work. You have the audience, or you don't have the audience. Who will come? Who is not going to come? But back then, it would have been like kind of like you don't know, like you're not sure how was the atmosphere around there.
I worked the year earlier, or 2012, 2013. I did some work for Reliance in trying and setting up of the Indian Super League, and so I knew a little bit about that. And then in 2014, I was approached by Mumbai City to join them and help them set up the franchise. And till date, Mumbai City is very very close to my heart because I was involved in setting up a football club from nowhere, and that is, I think, the the biggest achievement and the brightest thing that was done, is that we created something out of nothing, and it was learning by doing. I'm sure we did not do everything right in the first year. There were a lot of mistakes, but that was lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of the realities. But I still think that with the involvement of these stars, we had Freddie Ljungberg, we had Nicholas Anelka with us. We created Indian stars in Shubhas Singh and Adong Bhutia, and had, of course, a Bollywood superstar and Ranbir Kapoor in our ranks as well as one of the co-owners. In a city like Mumbai, I think that football showed itself. And I tell you an example with fan clubs. When Nicholas Anelka or Ljungberg arrived, the Arsenal fans were there. When Nicholas Anelka arrived, you had fans from Arsenal, from Chelsea, even from Real Madrid. They were around to welcome him, and that was something which is unthinkable of, that the big fan clubs in Mumbai, of the big European clubs, coming together to support their local team, which was great to see. And it's an experience. It was a road trip. It was really a 4-month road trip, and it was really really enjoyable. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights because of losses, but also great nights like beating Pune City 5-0 in a derby. In the end, sadly, we didn't make the playoffs, and that is one thing which I feel is, with the quality we had on the pitch and the possibilities, we should have at least reached the playoffs.
If and you mentioned, like you had Ranbir Kapoor, who's still there with Mumbai City FC, and
Yeah.
like at least in the first season there was a vibe that you had a big star, Bollywood or some other like demigod. I wouldn't even call it star, a demigod
Mhm.
associated with the club. Was it like a strategized move to maybe improve the marketing of the teams, or was it like unconscious effort?
I think that they looked at what the Indian Premier League did in cricket, and the IPL has done a lot of things right when it comes to marketing, their product. And from that perspective, I feel that we did a lot of things in a way that that was a little different. And you needed, you were selling that star power. India is a country where the stars, the superstars or the demigods, as you're saying, they sell. And it wasn't just the Bollywood stars, but it was also on the other side, that someone like Virat Kohli got involved in it. And well, I think, and if you look in the long run, the focus has shifted away a little bit from those star owners or big owners or big corporates, and has moved on to the football field. And I think that's a positive sign, and a sign that the ISL is moving in the right direction.
Definitely. And since you have Mumbai City holds a very close place to your heart, and I wanted to ask you a lot of questions about Mumbai City I had. And you had the City Football Group, joining or investing in Mumbai City. How important is that? In probably in taking the game to a next level, because the amount of not only resources, the amount of football resources, not maybe may not be monetary, the footballing resources that they have and the connection they have is, I mean, it's second to none.
Massive.
In the world. So how important is that? After you, even I think you have Dortmund, you have RB Leipzig coming over with, I think, Goa recently. So that kind of set the tone, or maybe it brought a light to the subcontinent. Okay, there's something going on, and I think that also kind of helps Sai and Adam Lefondre come to India. Probably, I don't know. So how important was that? In the entire footballing environment, because I think that was the first major big investment that had been done in a club.
So if I go back to 2014, you had the investment from Atletico Madrid into Atletico de Kolkata. So that was something. There was, Fiorentina doing some work with Pune City, Feyenoord doing something with the Delhi Dynamo. So there were multiple efforts of, bringing in sort of the expertise from European clubs. And I had the crazy idea in 2014. I actually went to the City Football Group after it was clear that we will call ourselves Mumbai City Football Club. To try and work out something. I knew certain people at the City Football Group and said, "There's something. Hey, I've got this idea," which was a crazy idea at the time, because City Football Group signed David Villa and New York City in 2015, and they needed to park those two players somewhere. So I actually went to them and said, "Hey, do you think we could do a tie-up or something of that sort? Bring in Lampard, bring in Villa." And then later on realized Lampard played for Manchester City and Villa went to Melbourne City. So, with that approach, I was actually way ahead of my time. And then, you had this tie-up last year, which I find great. And it fits, it helps Mumbai City a lot, because City Football Group brings a lot of professionalism, a lot of knowledge, the scouting network, its sponsorship network, all of it into Mumbai City to strengthen the franchise. And you see already, that the success is helping the team, and hopefully Mumbai City can this year finally lift the ISL title, which would make me a very, very happy person.
Definitely. And you spoke about how one word that caught my mind was the sponsorship, what they can get. And you have this season has been kind of more you are getting more probably more known worldwide sponsors who are coming into the game, probably with City or other teams also. When you started back in 2014 with Mumbai City, when you're setting it up, how easy or difficult was it for you to get sponsorship? Because again, it was not something that has happened. So what was your experience with it?
So sponsorship in India is in generally not that easy. If you want small money, a lot of corporates are willing to shell out 20, 50 lakhs, maybe even a crore. But if you want more, it becomes of an issue. In 2014, it was about relationships, of people knowing someone or the other who's willing to invest. So, that's how we got Jabong on board, and, we had Ace, who later on became a shirt title sponsor as well of the club. So, there are different levels of these sponsorships which we had, and it worked in some way or the other for us. And it's not easy. But if you look at, as you said, this year, especially with Mumbai City, you have Etihad over there, you have Zurich Insurance over there. And you see also the betting companies which are quite big in Europe, but of course India betting is not allowed, so they're covering up with some betting on, not some betting, but some sports news websites, Dafa News, Spobet, and or whatever. So that way, there's a positive trend on that front, but again, it's still not enough, because at the end of the day, the clubs are not commercially viable, and as long as profitability is not possible, the growth of the league, I think, to a certain extent, will be hampered. So that needs to happen as well.
And also, like you said, like how it's not, like it's not viable right now. But do you think like do you see it being sustainable? And if so, like how long do you think it will take? Like you wouldn't be able to quote a date, I know, but like like kind of like maybe like 5 year 10 years down the line, or maybe after 10 seasons, 11 seasons, what is your opinion on it? Like how long would it take if it?
We should not forget the league is only in its seventh year, so and it's still not old enough. So I would think, um, give it another decade. I think if it's faster, I think if if the right steps are taken, it can happen in 5 6 years. But I think you'll have to give it another 10 years, until everything will be most of the league will be profitable, and that will take not only then Indian club football, but then Indian football in general further forward.
And also like one of the maybe like kind of complaints, or like the coaches or players have, is that the league is quite short. It's not like a league, it's like a mini knockout kind of a tournament, not knockout, but you have a tournament. And like there were also talks of like I League being like the feeder league or the second league compared to ISL. Do you think this is
Mm.
going to be a sustainable league, like going forward? And what is your opinion on it? Like was the jump from I League to ISL necessary for the game to grow in India?
I think that the roadmap that the AFC has worked out, the Asian Football Confederation, with the All India Football Federation, as well as the ISL and I League, to make the ISL the top tier and make the I League the second tier, makes sense. If you look at the investments that franchise owners are putting into the ISL, it's in the region of 30 40 crores, and in the I League there are people who are investing 1.5 to 2 crores. So that gap is quite big. And again, I think that also the investments of the owners have to be kept in mind, because there were corporates, there were individuals who were willing to invest hard-earned money, many crores, to make it possible for the ISL to run. And that's why you've had the closed league system. But on the other side, the ISL has been sort of expanding over the last 2 3 seasons. I mean, last year you had from October to March, so which was so it was expanding. We're now in this COVID situation where the league is being played in a bubble. Therefore, it has been shortened again. So yes, in the long run, it will become a longer, extended league. But again, you have to keep weather conditions in India in mind. It gets very hot in the summer. You have till August, September, to some extent October, the monsoons. So those are the things that you need. Otherwise, I think it's not possible.
And or you have also worked with I League. Like I saw, I follow your like Twitter accounts, and you have been like maybe even earlier last year when you were with I League. And what is the like? And since you have also been involved with ISL, what is the major difference that you find working with in I League and compared to like ISL?
Um, the ISL is much bigger. Much more money is being spent. It has better marketing. It has better television coverage. So from that front, it is much better. On the I League has looked at a lot of things that the ISL has done and has tried to, some extent copy it or do it in its own way, and that is run Indian football, because there are, I think the should not. I think they, if they in somehow or the other work together in tandem, then it will help the growth of Indian football. And I think that is very important, because what the I League has done, the ISL has gone into the big cities and to the big football set, not always big football centers, but into the centers where they should be. While the I League has really spread the game. It started 12 years back when Shillong Lajong was the first team from the northeast to come in. Then you had, the great Aizawl FC story. Now you have Neroka in there as well. You've had United Sikkim, Baichung Bhutia's own club has been part of the I-League. If I look at the story of Real Kashmir, Chennai City FC, Gokulam. So, it's spread it out, and it's no longer, if I look at 7-8 years back, it was mainly a league with teams from Kolkata, from Goa, and to some extent from Mumbai. And one season where 11 out of the 12 teams were from these places, and JCT from Punjab was the exception. So those are, I think, the biggest, gains of Indian football, that at least in the I-League, any club from any part of India can get into it, and theoretically also can compete.
And what you said, is bang on, because apart from till Bengaluru FC came in, and probably they were one of the best. I think till now is one of the best run clubs, at least for me. And you had Minerva in between and here and there. I generally thought I League only consisted of the Calcutta clubs.
Mhm.
You have three teams there, and probably I thought you have like a smaller team. I mixed CFL with the I League because it was not known, and now you have Real Kashmir, I think, who won the Shield the other day. I think
IFA Shield, yeah.
yeah, IFA Shield the other day, and even what David Robertson is doing there, it's amazing. Like for them to attract, I didn't know Real Kashmir before he came, so that is kind of like expanding the exposure probably to of maybe something like Kashmir, where probably you have players, but probably you don't get the exposure there. Like I don't know. Like I think that part, like you said, like how it's going to maybe like the tier two cities, or maybe even like other places where you won't probably go. Like it's not a marketing, you won't find the people over there watching probably football. It's going there and it's working, and it's quite good to see that.
Exactly. I mean, it's helped in a way. If you look at the Real Kashmir story, I mean, sadly we're in a pandemic and they can't play their home matches at home, but they were filling their stadium with people, even in freezing temperatures. Aizawl, it's been or Mizoram, which is very close to my heart because I've done some work there or brought teams over from Germany to play over there. That just a revolution over the last decade. They've come from nowhere with limited to no infrastructure to multiple now artificial turf grounds, training grounds, grassroots projects, baby leagues, all the things you needed. Women's football has been growing quite big in Mizoram as well, so that's a good sign. And that the overall growth of football, and you have to understand that when you talk about the growth of football in a country like India, there needs to be growth at different levels, and that is something which people don't understand, that the ISL is a professional, at the big, the big boys need to play that. The I League is sort of in between, and now when in 2024 2025, the relegation, promotion and relegation sets in, then also the smaller teams will get a chance to compete with the big boys. And then the challenge will be, if a club is spending 1.5 to 2 crores against Mumbai City or ATK or whatever, or Bangalore spending 50 crores. That's like teams trying to compete with a Liverpool or a Man United, and you're a Burnley or whatever. So that's going to be the interesting thing about Indian football. But again, it's the overall growth which has been a positive sign over the last, and that's a very, very important sign.
Definitely. And like you said, like when relegation and promotions like kicks in, you'll have like maybe a smaller team with maybe lesser funding playing in the ISL, but also you'll have a huge spending ISL team in the I League or the second division. And like it's a known fact that most of the teams are not self-sustainable as of now. And going down to the I League, do you think it can cause a huge problem for teams, maybe even going bust because they would not have the fundings then?
It depends on the owners. I think if owners are serious about football, they will be able to run the team for a year or two in the I League and then get back into the ISL. I think that needs to be, that's, I don't want to put off some Arsenal fans, but that would happen if an Arsenal football club does get relegated to the championship, and then would have to come up. Arsenal would have the biggest budget by far in the championship, and that the world, and or I take a German example, Hamburg, big, one of the most supported clubs in Germany, has been now 3 years in the second division. They've not been able to get out. because the competition is so strong. And so that is also what will happen, is that if the bigger teams are relegated, they will have competition in the second tier, which will also get better. Because if you look teams like, let's say, Gokulam Kerala, they would love to get into the ISL. Round Glass Punjab wants to get into the ISL. I've had some involvement in Round Glass Punjab, so I know that there is an aim. Are they going to take the organic route of coming in via promotion relegation, or maybe take the expansion franchise route? One has to see. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, and what is realistic. But again, the signs are good, and promotion and relegation is one thing. The question is also, will you call it ISL? Will you league? Will you call it second division league, or maybe call it ISL 1, ISL 2, and maybe make it uniform and strengthen the whole structure. So we'll have to see and wait, and what happens.
Definitely. And like, I'm getting to end, and I'll ask you last few questions. And like you said, like how you have gotten teams from Germany to come to India to play games, maybe exhibition, maybe friendlies. How difficult is it, like to convince teams to come, or they are open to the idea of coming because probably they'll get a huge audience to probably increase their fan base, or whatever be their motive?
It's never been easy. It's been a lot of conversations, discussions of what one would do in India. And it's always been good, because the fans have come out to see and watch these teams, be it Bayern Munich in 2008 with their, last match of Oliver Kahn, 125,000 people at the Salt Lake Stadium, the testimonial against Bayern in 2012 in Delhi, Hoffenheim going to the Northeast and playing in Aizol, where the stadium capacity is 10,000, 15,000 somehow got in, another 10, 15,000 were outside, and you see Anthony Robert, for example, or Niklas Süle were some of the players who were part of the Hoffenheim squad then, or even German student national team. So we've got tons of teams have come. It's always been a pleasure, and I've been very happy that over the last 15 years, 20 years that they've been trying to do this, there's been more German teams than any other teams from anywhere else in the world coming to India to play matches. So that's good, but again, it's always difficult. And very often in the past, now in the last few instances, the commercials have been worked out in that way that German corporates ensure that the costs are covered, because that is easier for these clubs. Why they go to China, why they go to Japan, why they even go to a Southeast Asia, Middle East, or even the US or Mexico, even. So that's a reality that we have to. Indian football has a lot of pull. We've got a lot of fans, but again, it's about the commercial interest of these clubs.
Definitely. I want to ask you, like, were you involved in getting a Bayern Munich, maybe a second team to Siliguri, I think 2008 or 2009?
Yeah, yeah,
Were you there?
yeah.
Okay, I had gone to see there. I was from my school, like they had taken us.
Oh, nice.
So I saw
Great.
that took, yeah. I think was Gerd Muller there, like as the coach? I don't know.
Gerd Müller was there,
Yeah,
but you also had Thomas Müller as
yeah,
well
yeah,
as
yeah.
Holger Badstuber won the field. Yeah, unknown players.
Yeah. Back then it was unknown. I mean, you knew Gerd Muller because everyone knew him, but you didn't probably know Thomas Muller, or you didn't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, like when you look back, like I didn't believe that Thomas Muller was there, because now he's a known quantity. But now I confirmed it
of
too.
course.
He was there. Yeah. So staying the same theme, and I'll ask you final two questions, and
Sure.
the first one of the two is, like in your experience till now in football, what has been the best moment for you?
For me personally, I had the pleasure in 2010 when the Bayern Munich legends came to Kolkata to play East Bengal legends. I had the pleasure of playing with 6 world champions on a field at the Salt Lake Stadium. Yeah, that will be the moment probably. Paul Breitner, who scored a goal in the '74 World Cup final, walks off. I walk on, and then I'm on the pitch with 6 world champions, and that was unbelievable. That would be that one moment. If I look moment with Germany, I would think 2006, the World Cup here in Germany. I had an incredible month If I take that, the Germany-Poland match where Oliver Neville scores in the 89th minute, the winner against Poland, where the stadium, Dortmund is a brilliant stadium to watch matches anyway, but that did explode. And another proud moment for me will be when India played Australia in the Asian Cup in 2011, and the Indian anthem was played. That was something special of watching India play. So those will be some of the memorable moments. I could go on. There would be two or three others, but yeah, those would be sort of my sort of top three.
Definitely. And you like to wrap it up, I'll ask you maybe a kind of maybe like advice, like for people who want to have a career in football, because I've like generally with my experience with people I know in India or even in Nepal, because I did my schooling in India and even my engineering in India. So I said, and like, uh, if someone wants to get into football in any capacity, probably not as a player because they have they kind of age is done, and maybe like administrative or management or something like that, what advice would you give them, like to maybe follow or kind of go about?
I don't know if you know a very good friend of mine who is from Nepal, Biplav Gautam. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
Biplav,
I
who
know.
now, who now is with Sports Radar, who used to also run in the early 2000s a website on Nepali football. So that's his entry into football as well. I would always say that there is no straight career path into football. I have taken detours. I've ended up in an area which I would have never thought about 20 years ago, to be very honest. And that's why I run my blog Arun Foot, because I still love writing, and the things that I'm reading or what I'm watching, I'm putting out to the world to watch it as well, see what different things are happening. And my advice would be to try and understand the game. Fan of football, and I know analytics, this and that. No, understand the business of football, because the business of football is different than being just a fan of the game. Because being the game, there wins and losses, but when you are involved, when it's your job, when it's your profession, emotion is very good on one side, but on the other side, professionally, you have to handle it. It's like for me, losing is something. I'm very bad at losing. And at Mumbai, that was for me the toughest thing when I realized is that, hey, we had this cracking team and we couldn't win matches, and I would stay up all night and think about why are we not winning matches. And sadly, I wasn't the coach, otherwise I might have taken some other decisions. But again, that's the most important thing I say is you have to have passion and drive to be successful. And again, there is no one path. There are different paths of how you can make it successful.
Definitely. And on that note, Arunava, thank you so much for talking to me. And I wish you all the best for all your endeavors, whatever you're doing. You like you said, with round glass and with also multiple things you're doing. And hope to see all your, like teams that you're involved in the ISL soon. And, like hope to meet you someday, and talk about football and keep getting teams to India. Probably somewhere down the line, you'll have another person who will come to talk to you and who would have seen someone whom you got to India, probably like me. So thank you so much, and hope to talk to you again soon. Like I said, until then, take care, stay safe. Bye.
Thank you very much, Subhashish, and wish you all the best, and hope to speak to you soon as well. And all the best to the listeners.
Thank you so much.
Player-wise, it would have to be Steven Gerrard, just because again, before he became a journalist, he was someone I just admired massively in terms of the absolute complete footballer. I think if you were trying to like make a footballer in a factory, it would be Steven Gerrard, someone who, I think JV Carragher summed it up best once when he said, Steven Gerrard's biggest strength is he doesn't have any weaknesses.
The stadium. I don't see really need to do that, mainly such a big spending. But it's true that it would be a fantastic stadium. That's not bad, but you have to be careful. And mainly at this moment, when we are going to face a very difficult time,